dependent on what you already have in your collection, what consoles you own, and how much money your close relatives are willing to spend on your Christmas gifts. What all things on the list have in common though is that they include items that are very easy to find for people who are not interested in Skylanders. Number 10 on my list is the first game, Skylanders Spyro Adventure, and maybe a couple of figures. This is a great gift if you have a legacy console collecting dust in a drawer somewhere, and it's also relatively cheap, quite available, and usually also comes with a couple of figures. This game is showing its age for sure, but it's definitely still a decent experience both in single player and co-op. You don't really need a lot of figures either, as they become increasingly useless in future games, and you may not want to replay the game enough times to level up 32 characters anyway. Just take what you get when you are given the game for Christmas and complement so you get at least one Skylander from each element. Number 9 on my list is on a similar theme, as I have put Skylanders Giants on this spot. The second game in the series was released for the same consoles as the first one and only a year after, but it's a huge improvement from a technical perspective. It's also quite easy for non-initiated persons to find Skylanders for as well, as they just have to look for the orange bottom of the figures. And if you have the green ones from Spyro's Adventure, they work in this game too. It doesn't really matter how many giant figures mom and dad find for you either, unless you really want a particular one, as you only need one giant to get the 100% save file. Number 8 on my list is the Swappers. These customizable figures from the third game, Skylanders Swappers, are a ton of fun to play with in general, and they also have a special gimmick where you mix and match tops and bottoms to get different combinations of abilities. At first I was firmly opposed to playing with Skylanders that looked this weird, but trust me, they make up for it from a gameplay perspective. For non-Skylanders fans, Swappers are also easy to distinguish from the cores released for the same game, as they have a distinct look compared to them. Swappers' moveset are definitely on par with both Superchargers and Trapmasters when it comes to complexity, and they are fun to use in the subsequent games too. You know, as long as you turn down the difficulty a bit. Number 7 on my list is Supercharger Vehicles. This is for all of you who have just bought, or who are planning to buy, Skylanders Superchargers, or just want to expand your collection of vehicles. This is also something that really can't go wrong. As long as it's a Skylander thing and it's a vehicle, then it is a Supercharger vehicle. The actual Supercharger Skylanders are of course also a great gift, but they are slightly harder to distinguish, so I'd say you should go for the vehicles when you make your list. And these bad boys work in the racing game modes in Skylanders Imaginators too, so that's always a bonus. On number 6 on my list I have actually put the game Skylanders Superchargers, and there are a couple of reasons for this. This is of course subjective, but I think it's one of the best games in the series for various reasons. It's cheap to buy the things you need to complete the game to 100%, and thanks to the vehicles and other aspects of the gameplay is very varied too, and the game also has a great story. This game is also probably the cheapest one of all the games that was released for the HD consoles, so Skylanders Superchargers is a great thing to have on your Christmas gift list. Number 5 on my list is Senseis. If you own a copy of Skylanders Imaginators but don't already own a lot of Senseis, these incredibly fun characters are a great thing to wish for Christmas. All you have to tell Grandma and Grandpa is, look for this hexagon-shaped bottom plates. Buy any figure with this bottom. Except for these two. I own like 12 of each already. Another reason why Senseis are a great thing to wish for Christmas is because they were made in limited quantity and many of them are quite rare and expensive. However, if any Skylander is worth their asking price, it might just be the Senseis. The developer really took their moveset to the next level, and Senseis are definitely some of the most fun Skylanders to play as. To play with them, you will of course need the actual game, Skylanders Imaginators, which is number 4 on my list. Not really any version however, but one of the highly coveted copies for the HD consoles, PS4, Xbox One or Nintendo Switch. You may want to ask this from a wealthy relative, or perhaps ask a few of them to chip in, because these games can be expensive. Hence they are a great thing to wish for Christmas. The game is also really easy to recognize and to find on the used markets. It's just a matter of coughing up the cash. Imaginators might not be everyone's favorite Skylanders game, but I personally think it's a really solid experience with a lengthy story mode, more or less all the racing components from Skylanders Superchargers, and most importantly, some of the most fun characters in the entire series in the form of Senseis and the player-created Imaginators. For the same reasons I just mentioned, I put Skylanders Trap Team for either PS4 or Xbox One as the third item on my list. I actually own this version of the game only because it was a gift from a couple of fans, and I didn't even get to record any gameplay from it, which is why you're watching footage from Imaginators. Trap Team for PS4 and Xbox One is usually quite expensive as well, but it's also easy to find and recognize, making it a perfect Christmas gift. There's nothing wrong with playing any Skylanders game on a legacy console like a 360 or a PS3, but the HD versions of Trap Team, Superchargers and Imaginators still look really good to this date, and from a performance perspective, they all run at a super smooth constant frame rate too. But of course, you need more than the actual game disc to play Skylanders games, which brings us to the next point on my list, which is stuff for Skylanders Trap Team. Infamously known for being one of the most greed-motivated titles in the series, and provided you don't own a lot of stuff for it, you can just wish for anything. Trap masters, cores, traps, expansion packs, everything with a red bottom runs a risk of being rare and expensive, so tell your aunt and uncle and that one rich cousin who invested in cryptocurrencies 10 years ago to buy you anything they can find. And now we have a right at the number 1 spot on my list of Skylanders things you should wish for Christmas. And these things aren't even necessarily the most expensive thing on the list. They're just incredibly fun. And I'm talking about the creation crystals for Skylanders Imaginators. These things are also very easy to recognize in the Skylanders figure jungle, and if you don't know what they are for, you use them to create your own Skylanders called Imaginators, and they can be used exclusively in the game with the same name. When you place a fresh one on the portal, you select one of 10 battle classes, and this decision can't be undone without abusing a certain glitch. Even if you get a used one though, you can fully customize the way they look, which is arguably the most fun part anyway. These things are truly one of the simplest